Joining me now is Georgia Congressman Richard McCormick. Congressman, I want to get your reaction. I guess you can expect this because the rhetoric, of course, from the Democrats has been repeatedly that you're, hurting poor people and changing health care and helping the rich, hurting the poor. Those talking points have, and Mike Johnson had said on Sunday that he's not surprised they need a new playbook. Do you think the playbook changes for the Democrats moving forward?
Well, I think it's more fear tactics. That's not new at all. As a matter of fact, when they say that people are going to die and not have any health care as a result of this bill, I think that will become very evident in the very near future that that's not true. That sort of rhetoric is so extraordinary, and I look forward to just a booming economy with the people having more jobs, less inflation, and a better lifestyle. And I think that's what's going to sell this into the next generation of politics.
What about the future? Now, we've talked about this already this week about reconciliation, the rescissions package. I mean, several lawmakers have come onto the program and told us there is going to be more to do, because the criticism, of course, was that the increase in the deficit and the debt, $3.7 trillion. So if that's the case, instead of certainly $1.7 trillion in cuts is nothing to sniff at. That was good, but at the same time, there are those that are saying we need to do more. Where would you be willing to make cuts as we move forward with the reconciliation process?
I think everything's on the table. I'm actually one of the budget hawks that thinks we didn't do enough to cut the deficit. But quite frankly, we haven't seen how this settles out. Once the tariffs come into place, once the rescission process is done, once we see how much is brought in revenue due to a booming economy, there's a lot to be seen. I don't think we've done enough, but we have a long ways to go. We haven't looked at the way that we have waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid in real substantial ways, as well as the rest of the budget with the DOGE cuts that we need to codify. But quite frankly, the Democrats' only way to close that gap is to raise taxes, which slows the economy, reduces the number of jobs, reduces the revenue. We saw that the first time when we cut corporate taxes and the nation had a net positive in revenue. So I think we can sell it on that alone.
Okay. Well, certainly, this is, again, as we heat up, that we'll see. This is 2026, a long time away, but in politics, it's actually not. It's already kind of bubbling up in some key battleground states, in particular for some of these Senate races. Let me ask you about this. Former President Joe Biden's doctor, this is Kevin O'Connor. He's now asking to delay his testimony before the House Oversight Committee tomorrow over patient privilege concerns. There is a new book out today. It details, quote, how Trump retook the White House and the Democrats lost America. It reveals that former first son Hunter Biden was the one that was helping make campaign decisions and often sat in on phone calls alongside his father. And we had seen Hunter in some photos with President Biden, and many had raised concerns about that at the time, I want to be clear. But an ex-DNC insider told Fox Digital the Democratic Party went to great lengths to hide Biden's mental decline. Congressman, I want to get your reaction to this, because as you and some of your other colleagues, and in particular James Comer, want answers about who was making the decisions at the White House at the time. What is your reaction to the fact that now the doctor is saying he doesn't want to come to speak to you right now?
Well, I'm an ER doctor by trade, and I understand patient privilege with a physician or a lawyer or anybody else like that. But that's not what we're looking at here. What we're looking at is things that were done that were illegal, especially. Now, whether Hunter wants to be a consultant for a campaign, that could really be the furthest from my concerns. As a matter of fact, his campaign was in shambles immediately because he couldn't be hidden anymore. You can't campaign and hide in a closet. That's what he was doing at first. But we all knew it didn't take a doctor to see his mental decline. What I want to know is who is making the decisions, who was signing the papers, and what kind of effect that had on national security and the future of America, our foreign relationships, all the things that are really germane to the most powerful position in the world.
So I want to ask you about what's happening as well with the border. So the White House is now urging the Democrats they need to tone down the ramped up rhetoric against ICE agents. A Border Patrol facility was ambushed by a gunman in McAllen, Texas. Agents were forced to return fire. They killed the suspect. But I want you to listen to what the White House said about this yesterday.
We certainly call on Democrats to tone down their rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol agents who, again, are everyday men and women. I would encourage AOC and other Democrats to actually meet with the United States Border Patrol. These are honorable Americans who are just simply trying to do their job to enforce the law. They go home to their families every night just like we all do, and they deserve respect and dignity for trying to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to remove public safety threats from our communities.
You know, the Department of Homeland Security has told Fox News that assaults against ICE officers and federal agents, they're up nearly 700% year over year, Congressman. Your reaction?
Now, when you have a bunch of politicians emboldening people who don't like America, who are invading America, who make this about making us the bad guys when we're just enforcing the laws, that's always dangerous. But we've seen this for years. I remember when Maxine Waters was telling people to get in our face, to actually go to our houses. That's not very good. And we saw violence against politicians recently. We've seen violence against our police force. We've seen violence against our ICE agents. This is never good, but this comes from the Democrats' rhetoric. We know this from their playbook constantly. It's never changed, and it is very dangerous and should be stopped right away. I think this is something we need to address. It doesn't matter which party you're in, by the way. This is not good for America.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and the doxing, not just the agents, but also of their family as well. You know, Caroline Leavitt is encouraging, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, sit down with ICE agents, have a conversation. It doesn't seem like a tough thing for her to do. Congressman Richard McCormick, thank you, sir. It's great to see you.
Always a pleasure. Semper Fidelis.
All right. Thank you.